Hello and welcome to episode 30 of Stitched in Sweden. I'm Maria, your host, and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as mmonska. You can also join us in the Ravelry group, which is Stitched in Sweden, in the Groups tab. I haven't been able to do show notes for the past few weeks, and I'm not sure if I will be able to do them, just because when I do find some time to record, I don't always want to take the time afterwards to spend a lot of time on the computer when I could be using that time to knit, and that's because I have been in school now and I have much less knitting time, so it's very precious and limited, and I would still like to give you the information in the podcast, and I will try and include the written text bars below, and if possible put up some show notes because I know that some of you do find them useful. So this week I will tell you a little bit about this week in Stockholm. I have an announcement of a new shawl pattern that will be released in the beginning of October, and I have a beautiful sock pattern to give away a copy of, and I've been working on 2 projects this week and last week, so let's get started. This week in Stockholm I have been in school all week again, and same with last week, and I've been really enjoying it. So for those of you who've been curious and been asking over in the Ravelry group, I am currently working on my master's in public health with an emphasis in epidemiology. So yeah, I previously studied psychology in my undergraduate, and now I'm doing this, so I'm really enjoying it so far, and I really like the classes. My classmates are great, and I'm just having a great time. It is a ton of time commitment, though, and I have not been doing very much knitting at all, unfortunately. I would really like to try and continue to work in some knitting here and there, but so far it's only been happening on the weekends. So I hope that I can try to change that, so maybe I have a little bit more time in the morning or take the time in the evening, even though then I'm usually really tired and just want to go to sleep. But anyway, we are having, maybe it's too... I'm going to close the window because maybe you can hear the sounds. We are having a beautiful fall day here with lots of sun. We had some rain in the past weeks, and I was wondering if that was the end of the sunshine for the whole winter, but the sun is out again, and we had a lovely housewarming party at one of my classmates' cottages up in the north of Stockholm, quite a ways, yesterday, and we take the train to the central station, then we take the train from the central station for half an hour, 45 minutes, and then we get on a bus for another 20 minutes, and then we walked 2 kilometers. So it was quite far away and in the middle of nowhere, but it was beautiful, and she lives in this tiny little cottage, but the whole walk there was really sunny and just on this like winding dirt road with horses and sheep and just really pretty countryside. So that was really fun. We were there, lots of my other classmates were there too, and we had a campfire. We roasted some bread dough on sticks, which I have never done. It is apparently a German thing, or my German classmates knew about it, and they were the ones who brought it and shared it. So basically like wrap some dough on the end of a stick, just like you would with a marshmallow, and stick it in the coals of the fire, and then you get some nice bread. But it was a lot of fun. We also yesterday went to a kind of farm garden, and we had a nice lunch there with Thomas's brother and his son and little daughter, and played on the playground with them for a while. before we went to the house in the north. But it's just been really beautiful weather, and it's still quite warm, but it's actually cool, but that's because it never got so warm this summer. It still feels the same. But you don't need that big of a coat to go outside yet, which is nice. But not so much has been happening other than I've been in school a lot, and I have 2 more weeks of this first class, and I just take one class at a time. So 2 more weeks before the exam and my final presentation, and then I will be starting a new class. So they go quite quickly, every 5 weeks or so. But I'm hoping that I can find a little bit more time for some knitting in the upcoming weeks, whether that means that I'm waking up a little bit earlier or whatever. Trying to fit it in some more, because it's something that I really like to do, and it is really important for my well-being, I think. So, that's pretty much it for this week in Stockholm. I do have an exciting announcement, which I will just give you the small version of now and save the rest for when the pattern is released. But I have been working for a while on a collaboration with Maya from the Wool Barn, and we will be releasing a kit for a shawl, and it's a shawl pattern kit, and that will be released in the beginning of October. So that is coming up right around the corner, and I am really looking forward to sharing that with you, because you haven't seen it yet, and I'm really pleased with how the design came out. It's quite simple and a bit of a unique shape that's very easy to wear in a couple of different ways, which I'll show you all next week or whenever that is. But I'm very excited to have worked with Maya in this project, and our kit will have the pattern, of course, a little bag and some stitch markers, the yarn, and a couple of other things in there as well. So I'm really looking forward to showing that to you guys and releasing the pattern in the beginning of October. Of course, that would be a lovely pattern to knit for the shawl season, KAL, if you are joining in. It has been so fun to see some of you, not everyone using the hashtag, but I know some of you have tagged me on Instagram and are writing on Ravelry with what shawls you're knitting, and it's great to see. There have been some beautiful succulent shawls that have been finished recently. Some in hand spun, and a couple of the smaller versions especially. So it'll be interesting to see what different sizes people do, and to see those those projects starting to come up in the pattern page. So if you would like to join for the Shawl Season Cal, you can use the hashtag Shawl Season KAL on Instagram and on Ravelry, and I would love to see what you're working on. I have been working on it's not a shawl, it's a wrap, but that counts because it's relaxed. You can knit what you want, and I would love for this knit along just to be, the chance to talk with some people about what you're working on and share your preparations for the colder months ahead. I have been working on the Wheaton wrap, which is a pattern, I forgot the pattern, designer again, but I'll put it here for you. It's a pattern that was in one of the Brooklyn Tweed publications a couple of years ago, and this pattern was gifted to me by a lovely viewer, so thank you. And I'm knitting this in Loft, which is Brooklyn Tweed's fingering weight yarn. It's 100% American wool, and it is a Targhee Columbia blend, I believe. Targhee Columbia sheep, and it comes from, it doesn't say it here, but I think that it comes from Wyoming and is spun in New Hampshire, so it's, grown in Wyoming, spun in New England. There it is. I love this yarn, and I saw this week that Brooklyn Tweed came out with a new yarn, which is a chunky weight, and it's a 3-ply yarn that looks almost like a single, so it's quite interesting, and I would love to see it in person, but it looks really beautiful. I would really like to knit the Wolf River sweater out of that yarn, or out of the Imperial yarn, their Aran weight, which I think is called like Columbia maybe? I don't remember. Anyway, sidetracked, here is my progress on the Wheaton wrap. That's more of the color that it actually is, right there. But it's a little bit tricky to show on the podcast because of the light. But it's a beautiful combination of cables and lace. And you can get a pretty good idea of what it looks like, I think. I was pretty pleased with how much I was able to get done. You can see my stitch marker right here. This is where I was last week. So I had only knit up to here last week, and then, 2 weeks ago when I recorded, that's where I was, where I left off when I recorded was right here. And then I knit all this, almost all of this happened in the first week when I didn't record, and I think I've done maybe this much this week, which is not very much at all. But we had an exam on Friday, midterm exam that I was preparing for this week, so yeah, not so much knitting. Anyway, I really love how this is coming out. I am on my second ball right now, and it will be 5 skeins worth, I think, unless it's just so massive, but I think I'll probably do all 5 because that's how many I have. This is the second one, so I would say that I may be maybe 2/3, maybe 1/2 or 2/3 of the way through this second ball. And this will be a nice, fluffy, airy wrap that I'll wear as a shawl, kind of, or like, I'll wear it like a scarf. So it'll be like, not like that because that will be, but it will be like nice and big like this, and I'll have it once around my neck. And then down, and probably when I wear my coat, I'll have it like up and around my neck like that. Anyway, I think it will be really nice for the winter, and it will be a nice pop of color with my coat is about this color gray, slightly lighter maybe. I have a couple different colors of gray in my coat, and it will be a nice pop of red for the dark winters. Also, red is a really common color in Sweden, I have found. I'm not really sure why, but yeah, it is. A lot of things with traditional sort of Swedish patterns, or like the horse, the Dala horse, or just some Swedish designs, a lot of them have red as kind of a main accent color. Anyway, I am keeping this in my project bag from Deb of Fondant Fibers, and in here I also have a little bag of lavender, so every time that I open this bag, my project smells wonderfully of lavender. And this is lavender from my mom's garden that she harvested for me last year. So that is quite lovely. Sometimes it makes me sneeze, but I love the smell so much, so it's worth it. So that's in there. Soon this will have to move to my larger bag that I have of this same print, but for now it works in there. This week I also started a new project, which I wanted to get started so that I could have this simpler project on the needles so that I could pick it up and knit on it even if I was doing something else like reading for school, although I haven't had so much reading to do. But as I'm coming up to my final exam soon, I know that I will probably have some time where I'm reviewing my notes, and sometimes I could be knitting while I'm doing that. But I can't knit patterned things while I'm reading, so I can't work on my project that I just showed you, the Wheaton wrap, because I can't do cables or lace while I'm reading. I can do stockinette though. So, perfect project to start is the sweater that I will be knitting for Theodore, which is Thomas's nephew, and this will be a little yoked pullover that will have kind of like a gradient yoke of different grays. And so I cast on the sleeve this morning, and this is how much I've got. You can see that I've been craving some knitting because this sleeve just like popped out of nowhere. That's weird. Okay, whatever. I have some ribbing here. It's in black, obviously. And I've just been knitting on the sleeve. I did not do a gauge swatch. I just cast on and started knitting. And then I measured after I had knit just a little bit. And, okay, I know that I've told you how important it is to swatch and things like that. When you're knitting a child's garment, I think it's less important than when you're knitting a garment for yourself, because children are growing so fast anyway that if you measure them, well, I measured him, of course, but if you're trying to knit the sweater exactly to fit him, it's not necessarily the best idea because they grow really fast. So I'm knitting this sweater. I'm going to knit the sleeves a little bit long and the body a little bit long so that he can grow into it, because children often grow in length before they grow more in width. So that he'll get wear out of this at least this winter, and up until probably June when it maybe starts to warm up, and perhaps he'll be able to wear it next fall too. That would be ideal, but we'll see. It's supposed to fit him this winter, basically. This is a fingering weight sweater, and I'm knitting it in the Yaku 416. And my tag is over here. This is the Yaku 416, superwash, 100% wool, and it's fingering weight. I think there's about 400 meters for 100 grams, yeah. So this is a 50-gram ball with 200 meters. And I know you can't really see much because it's black, but I have just a couple more inches to go, and I think I will knit it so that it will be the right length for him when the sleeves are cuffed once, so that he could grow into it a little bit, and it might extend the life of the sweater a bit. That is my plan, anyway. I always like to start with the sleeves when I'm knitting a sweater. I don't always do it, but I like the idea of starting with the sleeves because then you can finish the sleeves, start the body, and attach them right away, rather than having it be like the sleeves are the last thing that you do and then maybe you don't do them. So I'll show you what the sweater will look like, sort of. It's kind of going to be a mashup of a couple different sweaters, but this sweater here, it's kind of that idea of the gradient, which comes from the Bohus tradition of knitting, which is not, I don't remember if I said this before, it doesn't mean living house. It's from a region in western Sweden. So, yeah, it's going to be kind of like this, but it's going to be grays, not, see how this is kind of a yellowish brown? It's not going to be that. It's going to be a gradient of grays to white, which I showed last week. So kind of like how this hat is too. How it's like kind of a gradient. It'll be similar to that. So I'm going to finish that sleeve today, definitely. Put it on some holders and start the next sleeve. Maybe I'll get part of that done, and then I will start the body, which will be from the bottom up. The other pattern that I'm going to knit is going to look something like this, and it will be with gray yarn with the red patterning up here for Theodore's younger sister. But not much to show you because it's just black, but I think it will be a nice little sweater when it's finished. And this yarn is nice to knit with. It's just a fingering weight, and yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. So that's what matters. Alright, so finally this week I would like to announce a new giveaway. And this is for the Agatha socks, which is a new pattern by Claire from the New Hampshire Knits podcast. And she is celebrating her podcast anniversary that she's been podcasting for 1 year. So she released this sock pattern called the Agatha socks, and you can hopefully see the picture of it right now. These are beautiful socks that are knit from the top down. They have a traditional heel flap and gusset, and lattice work in the patterning that you can see around the leg and on the top of the foot. I think she has some really beautiful examples of the pattern on the project page, or on the pattern page, with different colors of yarn, and she also has a beautiful post on her blog, which I will include the link for right here. So these are knit in fingering weight, so you need about 350 to 450 yards on a US size 1, and she suggests this for the adventurous beginner. I like that description. So if you would like to win this sock pattern, you can enter, because Claire has been generous to give one away on the podcast. I would love it if you go over to the pattern page and check it out, and if you would leave a comment in this week's episode thread. That's for episode 30 in the Stitched in Sweden Ravelry group, and actually I'll create an own thread for it so that we can have the regular chatter in this week's thread. So there will be a separate thread on the Ravelry page which will explain the details of the giveaway, and you can enter to win there. And I will pick a winner for the next time that I podcast, and she will send you that pattern. So thank you so much, Claire, and I'm excited to see some more of these socks being knit up, because I think it's a really beautiful pattern. Alright, so I think that is about it for this week. I know it is quite a short episode, but I just don't have so much to talk about because I haven't been knitting so much, and I wanted to come in and say hello anyway. I did want to give you a little update from last week. I opened the package from Caroline of the Zazu Yarns, and Zazu, I think it's called Zazu Podcast. I can't remember. But here's her card. And she sent me some half skeins that we did in a swap, which I need to send her package for. Oops. And they were vacuum sealed, and here they are, alive and well. And now you can see the colors a bit better. They're quite beautiful. This yellow one is called Hay. Then we have Summer Storm, which is this blue. And then Rusty Chocolate here. And finally, 50 Shades of Brown. So these are a beautiful blend, 75% merino and 25% nylon, and you can check out her Etsy shop, which I will give you the link for here. There they are. I think these will be fun to do in some sort of color work or striping something. Could be nice. So, yay! There are those. As far as general announcements, I guess, I have been quite slow in responding to Ravelry messages this past couple weeks. I have not been active on the boards really at all, and that's just because I really have no time. But I will try to get back to you when I can. And I still read all of your messages, and I really appreciate you being in touch this week and last. And I really love seeing the progress on your succulent shawls that you've been sharing on Instagram. So keep it up, and I hope to be a little more active this week, but I can't promise. So anyway, that's it for now, and until next time, happy knitting. Bye!